Good morning. It's amazing. There's so many things that are ironic, hypocritical, paradoxical about this video. Eric Spracklin posts this video. This is, it was captioned breaking. Hamas sympathizers have completely taken over the rotunda at the U.S. Capitol calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. It got community noted because it said this is not the rotunda of the U.S. Capitol, it's the rotunda of the Cannon House office building. Now, I have not yet Googled what the Cannon House office building is in terms of political use, but I love the adding content. Yeah, okay, fine. He made a mistake in his description. I think we all understood pretty much where Eric Spracklin was going with this. That we seem to have a takeover of government buildings for political purposes. And there were other videos going viral yesterday as well. And the question becomes the obvious one. Do these people go to jail for 10, 12, 15 years? How many of them are going to get hunted down by the administrative state, the deep state, the politicized Department of Justice, FBI? How many? None? None whatsoever? Oh, but the difference is they didn't take over the Capitol building rotunda. They took over the Cannon whatever building that was rotunda. Oh, that's why I know the word rotunda. In the movie Trainspotting, when they had the issue about the guy having returned a video of intimate moments between him and his girlfriend, and she says, "What do you mean, you rotunda?" Rotunda sounds like returned it. Okay. How many are going to get arrested? My prediction, it's a big fat goose egg, a big fat bagel. A Montreal sesame seed bagel is how many. The ultimate irony, hypocrisy, contradiction, double standard. Why aren't people calling for a ceasefire, negotiations in the conflict of Ukraine versus Russia? Or I should say Russia versus Ukraine. Why aren't people protesting for a ceasefire there? Oh, well, you can't negotiate with Putin. He's an evil man with evil intentions that can't be negotiated with. But ceasefire and negotiate with Hamas. I mean, that's the mutually conflicting positions here. Agreed. Different circumstances, different, and one can parse their way out of this and say, yeah, I think they need to negotiate and ceasefire in Israel, despite at the very least, this particular attack being not provoked, although people are going to say it was provoked by decades of occupation. They'll say the power structure is different, therefore ceasefire negotiations here, but there will be no ceasefire negotiations or discussions of how to end the slaughter in Ukraine. That and none of those people are going to jail, period. Oh, a lot of haters in the chat this morning. My goodness, I tell you, Vivek must be doing something right to have haters on my channel on YouTube. This is going to be fun. Vivek Ramaswamy is finally now coming on with Viva. It's Viva and Vivek. It's got a beautiful rhyme to it. And I should say, there's a lot of hate, but politics is filled with hate. There's a lot of love as well because, look, I'll tell you one thing. I like Vivek. I like the message that he's getting out there. Dude, I think I could be like the best campaign manager or prepper everywhere because I can say, man, this is how you have to answer this question in the future, and these are the things. Whatever. This is not going to be a Mehdi Hassan hostile, what is the word, ambush style interview. Mehdi Hassan is the master of those. Even if I didn't like Vivek, it wouldn't be that. But this is going to be an interview with Vivek Ramaswamy, presidential candidate. 30 minutes, so we're going to not delve into childhood all that much, although I said I might ask a few questions of childhood. So 30 minutes with Vivek. When he has to go, he's going to duck out. I'm going to carry on with the stream. And then we're going to go on over to Locals afterwards for our little Locals after party, where we might have our Locals conversation with another local supporter. For those of you who don't know, weekly, maybe every other week, we do an interview with a member of our community, a supporter from our community, and we might be doing that later on today. But also, very important because today's a jam-packed day. After Vivek Ramaswamy, and after I finish with this stream, I'm heading to do an in-studio interview with Dinesh D'Souza. This will be our second, about his new documentary called Police State, which I just finished watching this morning because I got a sneak preview. So it's going to be a big day and a wild day because from Vivek to Dinesh, And we're talking about what is going wrong with the American system right now. The beautiful, I think, was it Ronald Reagan who called America the shining beacon on the hill? The beautiful experiment of democracy. What was the pinnacle, the summit, the epitome. It was the goal to be strived for in terms of democracy, freedom of religion, rights, individual rights, seems to be under attack daily. And boy, howdy. So that's the schedule for today. You all know I'm going to end on YouTube after Vivek because it's not going to be long enough to cut early, and then go over to Rumble and vivabarneslaw.locals.com to talk about other stuff, because there has been other news. Douglas Mackey, 7 months in jail. The guy who did the meme dude. Ricky Vaughn on Twitter. Ricky Vaughn was the pitcher from Major League. Sentenced for what they are calling election interference scheme, because he made a meme that said, vote from home, vote Hillary, text 707, whatever the hell it was, hashtag DOJ. I'm just talking about the meme. I'm not engaging in election interference. He got convicted. Well, first he got charged, then he got convicted, and then he got sentenced 7 months in jail. There's another person, I forget what her name was. Hold on one second. I found the video yesterday with the help of our vivabarneslaw.locals.com community, where everyone is very much above average. Yeah, it's Ms. Christina Wong. She's a comedian. I'll show you the video afterwards. Who tweeted out a video that said, hey, I've gone full MAGA. Vote MAGA on November 9th. Hashtag election interference scheme. 7 months for Douglas Mackey. 7 months for everybody. Oh, lordy, lordy. Okay, so that's what's going on. Standard disclaimers, you know what it is. Barnes is right. I'm not going to probably get to the super chats during the interview. I asked, the community if they had any specific questions that I didn't already have on my list. Probably will not get to all of them because 30 minutes goes by in the blink of an eye. All right, now I see our guest in the backdrop, but they're miking up, so I'm going to give it a few more seconds. Can you ask Vivek why joining the TPP would not gut the rest of the manufacturing in the U.S.? I'll flag it if we get there. I've got my questions. I've got some questions because I got to get to them. There are questions that I've been asking myself, and holy cows, I've got to ask him what it's like to try to sit down. I was rewatching his Mehdi Hasan interview. It's an amazing thing to not be allowed to speak and to basically have to submit to being abused in an interview with Mehdi Hasan. Now I see Vivek in the backdrop. Are you ready to go? He's moving the camera a little bit. Okay. I don't know that Vivek knows. He might know that I saw him back in LA when he was getting teamed up, boy howdy, by the other people on stage. Okay. This is going to be good, people, everyone. Vivek, I'm bringing you in 3, 2, 1. Sir, how goes the battle?
How you doing, man?
Well, I'm doing well now. This finally happened, and I'm mildly excited because of all the other candidates. I like DeSantis, but I like you. I say but, and I like you. But I've got some questions because people have questions.
It's good.
Vivek, first of all, you're 39 years old?
I'm 38 now. I'll be 39 by the time of the general election. Yeah.
A baby. You're a baby. Okay. Look, the number one question that people have, and it's the number one skepticism, they compare you to Obama because you're, it's almost a flaw to be a smooth talker and to be able to think on your feet. But a lot of people question your sincerity. And I don't know how you answer that question, but what do you say to the people who say this is Obama 2.0, smooth, slick, says all the right things, but if and when he ever gets into power, he'll throw us under the bus like Obama?
Yeah, I mean, I obviously, not only to say I disagree with that is like almost the wrong thing. It's not an opinion. It's just not true. It's not who I am. But I get why people are skeptical, right? You got somebody who's young, seemingly comes out of nowhere. For the people who've been following me for the last 3-4 years, I didn't really come out of nowhere. But for most of the country, I understand that it seems that way. And we have been given good reason to be skeptical. I mean, you think about the number of times we have been lied to or duped by the government or the people in power or otherwise. Yeah, I think that there's good reasons to be skeptical. And so I invite the questions. All I would say is look at the things I'm actually saying. I don't think they sound very much like Barack Obama. In fact, I don't think they sound very much like many other Republicans who have failed this country for 20, 30 years either. ending affirmative action. Not exactly a popular talking point in either political party. Hasn't been for a long time. Even the Republicans could have done it. Abandoning the climate cult. I think the climate change agenda is a hoax, and I'm not saying that as a slogan. I've gone deep in terms of the scientific arguments for why in a lot of my writing and elsewhere. Ending the censorship culture in this country, the illegality of using tech companies to do through the back door what government couldn't do through the front door. I was, starting years ago, before people had heard of me, the person who authored many of the legal arguments that are now being used in court to win those battles. And so I just say a couple of things to people who are skeptical. Go back to the lead up to my actually stepping down from my job as a biotech CEO to take on some of the views that I have. Look at the books and the articles I've published, and then look at how that translates into what has since become the talking point binder that's popular for many anti-woke Republicans. And then one of the things I do, I hire people. I've built multiple businesses, hired thousands of people in the last 10 years, directly and indirectly. One of the things I do to look at somebody's sincerity is to say, what has that person given up, right? It's easy to say something. What sacrifice have you made? And so I get, somebody's slick, smooth talking, fast talking, and, everybody has their gifts. When I was a kid, I wanted to be, a guy who played in the NBA. That wasn't in the cards. I'm 6 feet tall and not an inch higher, so that ain't going to happen. But, I have been, everybody has their gifts, and I'm trying to use mine, and communication and effective writing. These are things that I do well. But I get that could look to somebody like, slick, smooth-talking, Obama-like salesman or whatever the criticisms are. A better metric to look at is, what has somebody given up? What sacrifice have you made? Have you ever traded off anything for your convictions? In my case, I'm not saying this to pat myself on the shoulder, but as people look to get to know me, it's worth getting to know me. I built a multi-billion-dollar biotech company. I was in a comfortable position, well-paid position, as CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company, and George Floyd dies and Black Lives Matter comes around. Every biotech CEO, every tech CEO, every major CEO in this country was reciting from a catechism around what you were supposed to do in terms of corporate donations and statements in favor of BLM. Now, today the environment has changed, but back then there was no tolerance for dissent. I went a different direction. I said companies should not be wading into this socio-political battle. And by the way, BLM is way off base for calling for dismantling the nuclear family structure. I was the only CEO in America, maybe one of 2 or 3 CEOs in America at the time, who was willing to say it. Multiple advisors to my company stepped down, major backlash. I have to face a choice. Do I stay CEO of my company? It would have been easy to do it, continue reciting the catechism that everybody else was reciting. I chose to step down from my job as a CEO to avoid negative consequences for my company, but so that I could still speak my mind freely as a citizen. Think about the things I'm saying on this campaign. I would say use your brain. You're thinking people. If you're watching a program like this, you're brought to it for a reason, is you're probably skeptical of what you're force-fed anyway. So fine, stay skeptical of what you're force-fed. And think about the positions I'm taking on what the right path forward is in U.S. engagement in places like not only Ukraine, but Israel now. You want to talk about my position on opposing electric vehicle subsidies, my commitment to pardon peaceful protesters on January 6th, heck, my commitment to pardon Trump. Do the math in your head. Yes, I have a lot of historical connections on Wall Street and in high finance and in Silicon Valley. Do you think that's helped me get more super PAC donors into the independent efforts that support political campaigns? Do you think that's been helpful? Or do you think it's been hurtful? And you can look at maybe the other candidates that have refused to take those positions. They've done really well on the mega donor circuit. That's not the game I'm playing, but it's not something that's lifted up this campaign either. Instead, I've chosen to put in an ungodly amount of $15, $16, $17 million of my own money. So I would just say, think independently and ask for yourself, what sacrifice is somebody making? And then make your own judgments. And I trust the people of this country to get to truth on the other side of skepticism.
To that I do say, like,
door, man.
People often say, like, it's an overnight, you've come out of nowhere, but it, like with bamboo grows, whatever the analogy goes, it grows feet overnight, but it took years for the root system to be able to sustain that growth. And and my retort to this is, by the way, yeah, you might be saying the things that are good for the for the people, but they're not the popular things to say politically, and that's one thing. So saying the right things, which are convenient for the wrong reasons, is far different than saying the unpopular things, even if it is for the wrong reasons. At least you're saying the things that the people want. But My question is: are you not flabbergasted that you're basically the only one, short of Ron DeSantis, who is a little more reluctant sometimes to say the things you're saying? Nobody else in the GOP field is saying this. Are they out of touch, or is
I'm
this
not
just
flabbergasted anymore, to be honest with you. I actually, my opinions on Ron have evolved through this campaign for the more positive. Actually, I think he's a good person and comes from a good family. I just think that these are people tainted by a broken system. And I have a front row understanding now as an outsider. Before, I didn't quite have the appreciation I do now. The super PACs. It's a game. It is a whole puppet system. It's the mother's milk of politics. So think about it. If you can't fund your campaign any way at scale to compete, other than to get massive mega donors into super PACs, then yes, you are beholden to what they want you to say. It's not your fault. It's not anybody else's fault. It's just the way the system works. And it is just that broken. And so the farce is that it's $3,300 per person, per primary, and per general election to be able to make a campaign contribution because we don't want corruption. That's the way the system works that way. And you can't corrupt a politician for $3,300 at the federal level, right? It's a lot of money for a lot of people, but it's not going to corrupt a politician who's going to dance to your tune. But $33 million probably will. And that's the way this game is played. And you're catching me kind of 9 months into this campaign at a moment where I have frankly become somewhat disillusioned and cynical and jaded by it. But then on the other side, all the more motivated to say we're going to come in and see if we can't just break this thing and raze it to the ground. Both the way the system works in electoral politics, get rid of the super PAC puppetry, but then get into the federal government, the equivalent shadow government that exists in the administrative state that turns the elected officials into really just puppets, not representatives for the people, but representatives, servants for the people who are the permanent state that's in that government. And so, in one hand, I'm at a deeply cynical and jaded place right now, seeing what I've seen. On the other hand, I'm more motivated than ever to actually give this the best shot we can of seeing this through. My heart says we can still succeed. That's not up to me. That's up to the people of this country. But to answer your question, I'm not flabbergasted. I get it. I have a deep understanding of exactly why it works the way it does. It's not shock and dismay and thinking that this individual politician was a bad person or a sellout. Almost anybody in their position would be doing the same thing because that's the way the broken system is made to work.
Well, and that's one of my theories is that there's two ways to get to a person. One is to buy them, and the other one is to either extort or intimidate them. And you're running with a young family. You have 3 young kids, I think? Or
2 young kids.
2 young kids. Some people are going to say if you can't be bought, you can be intimidated. And look, politics is dirty beyond words. What do you do to quell that concern that you are vulnerable to the extent that you've seen what they've done to Trump, you've seen what they've done to his kids, and you're exposing yourself and your family to that backlash as well?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that fortunately one of the things that, I'm not saying it's easy, but one of the things that makes it easier, my kids are like quite young. One is a year old and 15 months old, and one is about 3.5 years old. So in terms of just like reputational slandering and the kinds of things they've tried to do to Trump's kids, at least that dimension of this is they're too young for it. And that's, I think, a big positive. We whisk them. I'm going to be, later today whisking them on the trip to our next campaign stop, right? And so they're happy to show up and, okay, it's the next adventure. The campaign bus is in some new place. So in some ways, it's a little bit easier actually to do it when your kids are, when your kids are actually that young. I think it's helpful to have kids. At least for me, it's grounding. Sometimes you're going through the motions and you ask yourself, like, why the hell am I bothering with all of this? I think that when I do have kids, it changes, for me at least, it totally changed my perspective on life. It changed my perspective. It was the year that I also left my business career. Part of the reason was all the George Floyd nonsense and the politicization of corporate America that I was sick and tired of and wanted to speak out about. But I wouldn't have done it if I didn't have kids. My first son was born that year in 2020 as well. And it also is one of these things that makes you take a step back and ask, what the heck is the point? I'm going to accumulate a bunch of green pieces of paper. Fine. Is that the inheritance I want to give my kids? I don't think it is. Most kids who inherited that kind of stuff would end up being depressed. I went to school and college and places with many of them too. The inheritance I want to give them is a country that is hopefully at least as good, if not greater, than the country that Apoorv and I grew up in. And so for me, it's a positive. It gives me my sense of motivation. They're not yet of an age where at least they have to bear all of those negatives. I think that there are more sinister versions of the question you asked too. Look, I mean, what are you going to do? You can't live your life in fear. I don't, right? I think that a lot of people might fear that the worst thing that could happen to them is, okay, well, we're all mortal, right? I mean, it starts and it ends somewhere. So take that off the table. If you start realizing that you're human and you're not God, then you have something in common with the rest of human beings. Life is going to come to an end at some point. Might as well live it with purpose while you're given the short time that God's given you here on earth, right? So if you think it's being done by you and somehow you're afraid of the end and think your objective is to somehow make yourself personally immortal, okay, great. That's actually the people who have great fear of the kinds of things that allow them to be captured. If you just acknowledge that we're all here for a fleeting time anyway, we're all put here for a purpose, we might as well make most of the short time that we're given, that there is more to this life than just the aimless passage of time and the fear of that aimless passage of time ending. That's certainly the way I look at it. Then, you know what? That ends up being a lot more liberating and a lot harder, at least, to be captured or intimidated to do something that you otherwise wouldn't want to do. And so that's how I'm looking at this. That's how we raise our kids to, when they're old enough, certainly we hope to raise our kids to view the world similarly. Makes for a more meaningful life, at least. And whether that increases the odds of electoral success or not, I have no idea. But that's the way we look at it.
It's good. It's a good perspective. I try not to live in fear, but my goodness, seeing the way everything has been weaponized for the destruction of the ideological adversaries. Now, speaking of the destruction of the ideological adversaries, Vivek, the biggest complaints or the biggest critiques of you. You didn't vote. I mean, these are non-substantive ones in my view.
That's all right.
You didn't vote for a few years.
In some ways, yeah.
But the big one is the suspicion about the pharma, how you made your money.
Yeah.
Your ties to China, which the three of them during the last debate were really, really eager to pounce on you for.
I mean, that one was the most ridiculous of them, but I'll address them all.
Well, let's start with you made your money, and the critique is that you made your money by buying the rights to a failed Alzheimer's drug, hyping it up with family ties, so that you could repurpose it, rebrand it, go public, have it fail later on after you cashed out your money.
I mean, it started from the left, and the right has picked up on this.
I saw. Yeah. Just I'm steel manning it as much as I can. I saw the analysis on Twitter, and I've lost money in the pharma. I know the risk. I didn't need you to quote that 99% of medications fail. People know that who invest, and if they don't, they shouldn't be investing. But that's the critique. And
let me just address it. I mean, this is there's some things that are different opinions. There's some things that are just wrong facts. This is in the category of wrong facts. I developed an Alzheimer's drug. It failed. Over 99% of them fail. Most drugs ever developed fail. I didn't make a dime on that. Okay? I lost more. I was hurt more by that than anybody else was. But here's how I did make my wealth. And you're right, I have succeeded. 5 of the medicines that I worked on are FDA approved today. One of them is a life-saving therapy in kids. 100% of those kids die by the age of 3 if they're not treated. A majority of those kids live lives of normal duration if they are treated. Another one's a drug for prostate cancer. Another one is for endometriosis, for uterine fibroids. Another one for elderly people with overactive bladder. Another one for psoriasis. Yes, that's how I made my money. We did, among other things, a $3 billion deal where some of those drugs were then sold to another company that markets them today. Another one is marketed by the company that I founded, and it's a $9-10 billion public company today. And yes, I was the sole founder of that company. That's how I made my money. And so this ridiculous idea that the most sophisticated investors, biotech investors in the world, who were those who backed the risk that they, like I, took, that there's a chance that an Alzheimer's drug could work, and it didn't work, they all understood the risks of failure, as did I. I didn't make a dime off of that. Now, the thing that I've learned about politics is people can literally make anything up. And so that particular subsidiary was a public company. If you're a public company, you know exactly who's sold and who's not. You can look it up. Not a single share. I could have sold a lot of shares of that company. I didn't. Not a single share. It was a company called Axovan. Could have sold it. Didn't. And some of the people who worked on that were some of the most prominent people in the industry. I mean, the guy who was like one of the godfathers of an early drug for Alzheimer's disease was the chief development officer of that company. They all, like me, believed that this had a chance of success. It didn't pan out. Like 99% of other drugs in the space, it didn't pan out. The thing that was unique about me is that most biotech companies never get one drug approved. My company worked on 5 that are FDA approved today, and yes, that's how I earned a big chunk of my wealth. I'm proud of it. I don't apologize for it. And I think that politics is dirty, but what can you say? That one's just an outright falsehood.
What I love is, well, first of all, one of the catchphrases or the talking points was a teachers union. I forget which one of the investors had lost money. And so, but when you were on with Mehdi Hassan and he says, well, you sold out before, it didn't get FDA approval when you sold out, as if that's a flaw. As if that's a fault and not a mistake on your behalf, where hypothetically, had you held on until it got FDA approval, although it had passed phase 3, you would have made a little more money.
Well,
and
he was referring to the fact that, and if you know the first thing about pharma, and I don't, blame a bonehead like him for having not the first clue about pharma, what he's referring to is, so the drugs that succeeded, we took them through phase 3 to the doorstep of FDA approval. Some of the drugs my company kept and got through FDA approval and marketed. The other ones sold off in a big deal. Yeah, that's a big success. And so in some ways you have to pick your criticism. Either you're saying the drugs failed and I'm a failure. Well, that doesn't work because I got these drugs successfully developed. Some subset of them were then sold to somebody else to market them, and that was a success to the tune of $3 billion that my investors made. You got to pick your criticism. And in some ways, if your agenda was senseless in the first place, then you're not going to make sense if you're Mehdi Hassan anyway. But I don't let this stuff. Stuff doesn't bother me personally. I just think it's important that people actually have the facts. Now, bottom line, how I made my money: 5 drugs, FDA approved today, multi-billion-dollar company. I'm proud of it. It's probably one of the best track records in the modern history of the biotech industry. And I think the other criticism embedded in that is somehow, does that mean I'm of big pharma?
That is the critique, and some people say I don't even trust FDA approval given what we've seen now with the jab.
Fair enough.
But some people are going to say you're tied to big pharma. You're a snake in that.
Is this show airing on Rumble right now?
It is.
Okay. So the easiest way I can explain this is I am about as close to big pharma as Rumble is to big tech. Okay. So yes, have I developed pharma? Is Rumble posting videos on the internet like YouTube does? Yes, it does. Did I develop medicines like other pharma companies develop medicines? Yes, I did. Talk to other pharma CEOs. They despise me, and the reason why is I called big pharma's bluff. The medicines that I developed were in areas that pharma had systematically abandoned. And that's because of a lot of deep-seated cultural, bureaucratic culture in big pharma, where they all go in packs to the same areas to avoid accountability for failure. So if they're all failing in the same area, nobody has any criticism that they take, and they can also set prices equally, et cetera, versus leaving other areas behind that they ignore. So I developed the drugs in the areas that pharma had ignored at the time that pharma was ignoring them. And so in some ways, that called pharma's bluff. It's why they don't like me. And I have stood up to the bureaucracy of big pharma. I've stood up to other bureaucracies in the ESG movement and otherwise, which I can get to. But why did I bring up Rumble as an analogy? I'm a big fan of using the market, using commerce, using the economy as a way to drive change. And just as a side note, that was also why I became an investor in Rumble back when it was a private company, one of the early backers of Rumble as a private company, long before it became a public company today, because I loved the mission in challenging YouTube and saw an opportunity to do it too. That's effectively what I did in pharma as well. It's what I did when I founded Strive in standing up to BlackRock. And so one of the things I think conservatives also, just to maybe be a little less lazy about this, is to say that we want to win, fine, let's win. Do it by actually showing up and playing on the same playing field that the other side is showing up and winning on. BlackRock wins, fine, start Strive. Pharma's corrupt, fine, start a different way of doing it. YouTube's corrupt, great. Rumble's a great new way to do it, and I've been involved in different ways in all three. And so that's part of how we win.
You reminded me of the attack that you're on TikTok. How could you go on TikTok after trashing it? That was during the second debate.
That's right.
The other critique was that you manufactured your drugs in China up until 2018 when Nikki Haley suggested you sold them when you were deciding to run for president, which temporally didn't make sense. And my response to that is, and it's going to be the question, I don't fault people for following the rules. I would fault the government for enabling rules that allow for this. I don't fault Trump for not paying more taxes than he should. Yeah. And if people don't like the system, fix the system. What do you do, Vivek?
Yeah, I agree with that. So I would change the rules. And part of my views on China, they're very well-informed views on China. Yes, I have done business in China. It's not that the drugs were manufactured in China, but it was that we started a subsidiary to potentially develop medicines for the Chinese market. By the way, at a time where that was the new in vogue popular thing to do for every tech company, every company in America, the new frontier of the Chinese market. And so, you know what? I founded my company at 28. I'm a young guy looking at where opportunity is. Seems like that's an interesting opportunity to pursue. I did. Well, my eyes were opened, and I wrote about this in my first book, Woke Inc. I think China's playing a downright dangerous game, using capitalism as a vehicle to advance their own objectives. So a couple years later, once I saw the risks personally of doing business in China, and my first company got the hell out of there, and then in my second company, Strive, that I started, I made a day one commitment that no American CEO has made, certainly not in the financial services industry, saying that Strive, the asset manager I co-founded, would never do business in China, not because we were trying to be virtuous or virtue signaling about it, but because in the long run, if you have the boot of the CCP on your neck, you can't serve American clients if they're making you vote your shares in certain ways that don't align with U.S. client interests. And so that's a long way of saying that a lot of the other professional puppet politicians on that stage, they don't know the first thing about any of this. They're just spouting off, ironically, what many of them read. Nikki Haley, funny thing is, she blurbed and complimented my book, Woke Inc., when it came out. Ron DeSantis, and I love that Ron read it. Ron's unlike Nikki, not a total snake. But the fact that these people read it, I'm proud of them. But now they're using the talking points that I've served them up from an actual knowledgeable way to somehow say that, oh, this guy had done business in China. That's idiotic. Most American CEOs have led companies that tried to expand into the Chinese market. Turns out I was the only one that actually had the guts to speak out about it after I got the hell out of there. So what will we do about it? I think that U.S. businesses should not be allowed to expand into the Chinese market until China plays by the same set of rules. I don't think China should buy land in this country. I don't think China should be able to donate to universities in this country. And so those are extreme quantum leap positions to some that haven't been very popular with the mega donors in the Republican Party, but I understand that if we actually want to fix this, that's how we're going to have to do it. And yeah, I think that somebody who has experience might be a little bit better off doing this than somebody like a Nikki Haley who, pathetically makes $8 million in her few short cup of coffee stint at the UN, goes and makes millions of dollars afterwards opening a military contracting business and joining the board of Boeing. I mean, that's the real corruption, is the people who make money off of public service. Somebody like that should never come anywhere within spitting distance of the White House. But in my case, yeah, I come from the outside. You're right, I didn't vote for much of my 20s, like most people in their 20s, it turns out, because I was jaded and disaffected by professional puppet politicians like the Nikki Haleys of the world. If that's the choice, then in my 20s I sat it out. But I'm at a different stage of my life now and said, you know what, if we're going to fix this system, let's actually do it through the front door, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Well, I love that they fault you for having done business in China, whereas all of the green energy policy is directly and immediately benefiting China, and they don't put two and two together.
And all of those governors, Haley included, but the other ones too, have brought Chinese businesses to their own states, bragged about it. In fact, that particular vessel, Nikki Haley, corrupt vessel, was one when she was UN ambassador called China Our Great Friend. If you're doing that from a policymaking position as U.S. ambassador to the UN, I think you're disqualified from being the next president. But if you're somebody coming in from the outside with actual informed views to say, this is how I'm going to change it, yeah, that's what I think it's going to take.
Now, speaking of George Soros, Vivek, we're going to get into this also because it's another one of the classic attack points. You took a, what was it? Not a sponsor, a grant.
It's a scholarship. It's a generic scholarship. Yeah.
From not even, people think it's George Soros, not that it might make any difference or a distinction without a difference. The brother and the sister of George Soros had a scholarship fund, which you took in 2008?
2010.
It was $50,000, and Mehdi Hassan, in Understanding All Finances, says you took this $50,000 scholarship at a year when you were making $340,000, as if those two are somehow related. And people say now you are indebted to Soros. You are a Soros puppet. You were on the WEF website, although I think you actually forced them to take you down and issue an apology.
Yeah.
What's up with that scholarship, and how do you quell those concerns?
I'm now convinced that I will never quell those concerns, and I will take them with me to the grave. Okay, even if we want to save the United States of America, January 2033, I'll leave this office and say that we shut down the deep state, we declared independence from China, but people will still, to my grave, it'll be somebody coming spray painting my tombstone with the fact that there was a Soros scholarship I won at the age of 24, even though it wasn't George Soros. But that's okay. I've made peace with that. I've explained this a million times, but I'm happy to say I should say it more because people are fixated on it, and I don't blame them. In a certain sense, we live in a crazy world, so be skeptical of everything. Fine, just get to the truth. I was 24. There's a scholarship, some guy by the last name of Soros, who's related to George Soros, but not George Soros, who has different views from George Soros, who made his money independently, who's now long dead, by the way, and has been long dead. It was long dead, for years. Funded a scholarship that like generically hundreds of kids, hundreds, thousands, I don't know how many apply for it, hundreds get it. I got it. I went to law school, got $50,000. I wasn't rich back then. Yes, I did make $350,000 that year. It was the highest amount of money I'd ever made. I was a young person. I was successful as an investor at a hedge fund, so I'm not going to apologize for that. But somebody gives you $50,000, that's still a lot of money to me at the time. I would take it. Would I bother going through the application process now? No, I wouldn't, because that amount of money just doesn't, thankfully for the success I've earned, doesn't mean a lot to me. Back then it did. So yeah, I applied to the scholarship. I took it. I'd advise my kids to do the same thing. I'd advise kid to do the same thing. Not if there's strings attached to it, but if there's a merit-based scholarship you can apply for, when it helps you pay for school, have at it, go for it. That's what I would say. The irony is that much of this criticism has actually come not just from the Mehdi Hassans, but from people on the right. And I just say, open your eyes, people. Apply the same standards. Some of it come from people in our America First base. I'm part of that. I'd say if you're going to ask that question, it's interesting to at least note that there are other candidates in this race. I'm not holding this against them, but just hard facts. I mean, Ron DeSantis held a fundraiser with George Soros' investment firm's partner this June. And I'm not trying to play the silly game of gotcha. But if you're going to ask the question, then just open your eyes, people. I mean, Donald Trump took a $160 million loan from George Soros in his business career. Does that mean that I think he's some sort of Soros puppet? Of course not. That's ridiculous. I understand he's a businessman. And I was a 24-year-old smart college student or smart soon-to-be law student. Yeah, I was smart. I took it. So I understand that people make decisions either in their capacity as students in law school applying for scholarships or even businessmen who don't necessarily look at who's giving them the best loan rate. That's probably the right answer. So I don't hold that against them. But I do think that for a base of people who have been force-fed by mainstream media, be skeptical of that. But be skeptical of what you're fed by, some algorithm on social media as well, or some super PAC feeding your mailbox. Just stay skeptical of everybody and get to truth yourself.
Well, and what I say is also, like, people presume that their understanding of the Soros name and brand today was the same in 2008.
Yeah,
I was alive in 2008.
So you're that young? I didn't realize
I'm 44. I'm older than you.
Yeah.
No, and like I remember, I saw George Soros on 60 Minutes. The name did not have the same.
Totally. You wouldn't have, even if you were going to say, well, you should have had the name recognition, it wouldn't have occurred to most people in their 20s back then, it's just a random name. Like, that's what that was. There's also like about 50 other scholarships that I've applied to and won over the course of my high school and college and, through the early years of graduate school. And so, yes, any scholarship that's merit-based, apply for it, fill something in through the website, helps you pay for school, go for it. And I would advise any other kid to do the same thing. Not if they're going to say, oh, you have to abide by some sort of code of what you do or don't say, then forget about it. Give the money back. That's my view. But short of that, absolutely, do the smart thing. That's what I would say.
And now these are going to be the relevant questions to the day. Ukraine, America, shipping hundreds of billions there, neglecting its own borders. Israel-Gaza conflict. I'm not entirely certain what your position is on that. I mean, the question is going to be very broad, and I don't know how you answer it. How do you get out of these situations? What do you do to resolve Ukraine-Russia war? What do you do in the Middle East, broadly speaking? And what do you do to secure the border here, where America could face the exact same problems that we just saw in Israel that we might see elsewhere in the world?
So we're running a little short on time. So I actually just had a detailed discussion on the Middle East situation and Israel situation with Tucker last night, saying things that others in the Republican Party are too scared of their own shadow to say. But my view is on all of these things, we have to look at this through an American prism. I'm running for U.S. president, not president of the world. My moral obligation as the U.S. president is to the people of this country. And I will not apologize for that. That is just the moral definition of what it means to be the leader of this nation, not some nebulous global citizen. So Ukraine, I don't think this advances our national interest. I think we should immediately get to a peaceful resolution, a reasonable path to peace. Is Putin a craven dictator? Sure he is. But does that mean Ukraine is good? No, it does not. I mean, Ukraine is far from some paragon of democracy. 11 opposition parties banned, all media consolidated into one state TV media arm. The guy Zelensky and the comedian in cargo pants running a country applauding a Nazi in his own ranks. You got somebody who's trying to threaten the U.S. not to do their elections this year in Ukraine if the U.S. doesn't fork over more money. The Donbass region that's occupied, I mean, these are Russian-speaking regions in Luhansk and Donetsk that haven't even been represented in the Ukrainian parliament for up to 10 years. So cut me the crap on the good versus evil sob story that the Nikki Haley's of the world try to paint on that debate stage, duping the American people. Every time someone like her pulls the trigger to go to war, it's the cash register for her family. Forget about that and say how it's a reasonable path to peace here. I've outlined this in numerous forums. Freeze the current lines of control. Make a hard commitment that NATO doesn't admit Ukraine to NATO. But in return, you got to have Putin put up as well. Get out of that alliance with China, because the Russia-China military alliance is what threatens the United States. In the Israel situation, I'm worried right now that the ground invasion into Gaza without a clear objective is going to be a disaster. And if the U.S. is on track to funding this or backstopping this later, it's legitimate for the U.S. to ask those questions. Some, I would say, silly voices that don't think and process will say, oh, that means I'm anti-Israel. Forget about that. That's the single most pro-Israel thing I could say, is that we should have that open debate. Because you know when we didn't have it? In the aftermath of 9/11, which led us to, you're a similar generation from me. $6 trillion, thousands of American lives in Iraq and Afghanistan that we will never be able to correct or get back. I don't want to see us make those same mistakes again, and we need to be having that open debate now. Yet everybody in the GOP is so scared to be able to speak up that I literally am the only person in this race on either side that's elevating what are the vital questions to ask. I think that in a deeper sense, that's actually pro-Israel, it's pro-America. I think it's going to be a disaster for Israel if they don't go into this with clear objectives. But if the U.S. is expected to fund or backstop this, yes, these are legitimate questions for the U.S. to ask too. And just to some of those questions you were asking me in the beginning about, some sort of plant or Trojan horse, just do the math in your head, people. Do you think this is helping me? I can tell you from firsthand experience, okay? This is not helping me fund this campaign or with the fundraisers that we had planned, some of which have been canceled over people saying that these comments are inappropriate or whatever. We've had venues that canceled events that we were planning to based on the things that I'm just telling you relating to foreign policy, which is really the third rail. So just all I'd ask for people to do is think independently, use your brain, don't swallow what you're force-fed. I'm a true America First candidate. I'm going to lead this country accordingly. I got to get elected to get there. That right now, for every candidate not named Trump, that's an uphill climb. I acknowledge that. But the way I'm running this campaign for the rest of this is, and you go through a process, you sort of learn there's certain norms. I could care less for the norms. For the rest of this thing, my job's to do my best. That's why I'm doing stuff like this. Tell you who I am and what I stand for. If you want to vote for me, great. If you, after knowing all that, you want to vote for a different person, that's cool too. But that's the way our system is supposed to work. And the one cancer in between is the super PAC and mega donor complex that stops us from having the debates that we're supposed to have.
And I guess this might be the last question here.
Yeah.
I'll go and tell you stop. Stats are what they are. Your likelihood is what it looks like. You would obviously accept a position in a Trump administration.
That's not obvious. No, I think that I've actually mostly driven my career through the private sector. I actually am more convinced than ever that there are too few capable people driving real change in the private sector. Look at the things I've done. Even starting Strive single-handedly through, I wouldn't say single-handedly, there's others who helped in this, but I was at the bleeding edge of shifting the tides of the ESG cancer in capital markets. There's lots of ways of reaching the next generation. Now, my heart says that the people of this country still want an outsider, and I think we'll come around to wanting a leader from the next generation to lead this country forward. I started at 0.0% in March, coming in from the outside. And the people who have been really following me for a long time know I didn't come from anywhere, but for everybody, I've come from nowhere. But to everybody else, it seems like a guy who came from nowhere, 0.0%. I'm a major contender in this race, but still have a long way to go. I think that places like Iowa and New Hampshire, where we meet people, even this is there's through a whatever TV or computer screen or phone screen between us. There's only so much you're going to get to know a person. We spend hours with people, small groups of people in Iowa and New Hampshire. We'll see how that goes for us. My heart says we're actually going to be successful. I think the poll numbers are missing something in those early states. Most of the people who are coming to our events, and it's unique for me, not the other candidates, they haven't participated either ever or for a really long time in a caucus. So those aren't captured in what you're seeing in those early state polls. And so I think that there's a really good chance we're going to deliver a surprise in both of those early states. And so Iowa will go first in January 15th. It's 3 months from now. And so I'm in this to win this. I think we're going to be successful. I'm not that attached to I don't care about sitting in the White House or riding around on Air Force One. Air Force One's probably pretty nice, but it's not that much nicer than what I've been riding around for the last few years anyway. And so I don't fetishize the office, but I am of the belief that it's going to take somebody from the next generation to reach the next generation, a true outsider, and I think you only get to be an outsider once, a true outsider coming into this race. And in this race, that's me. And so my heart says that that's what the people are gonna want. And if the people decide that's what they want, we're ready to serve. And I expect we're gonna be successful.
Now, last one, I promise, because I'm going to respect your time. You said something that pissed a lot of people off, that you would contemplate pardoning Trump in addition to pardoning people that everybody obviously believes you should pardon. Assange, January 6ers, possibly Trump himself. What's the rationale behind the idea of floating a pardon of Trump? A pardon of Hunter.
Oh, I said I would pardon Trump, actually.
I think I might have said Trump instead of Hunter Biden.
Oh, yeah. So this is another one of these things. You don't know how this game is played. There's some reporter. He's basically like a campaign operative adjacent person. And so he calls me after the Trump stuff and says, okay, you've said that my principle for pardoning Trump and Assange and all these people, as I said, is not about politics. Anybody who has been the victim of an unjust politicized persecution through prosecution, where somebody under similar circumstances would not have been charged for their political belief, they're eligible for a pardon. He says, well, that means anybody, not just the people you've named. I said, anybody, not just the people you've named. So he said, it could be a Democrat, it could be Hunter Biden, it could be anybody. And my general point is, that's the case for anybody, in principle. I'm not going to preordain this set of principles by saying whether or not you politically agree with me. Julian Assange, for all I know, could be on the left. I don't care. So he distorts that to say, Vivek Ramaswamy open to pardoning Hunter Biden. It's just the name, it's just the way this stupid media game is played. The reality is, what's the real crime with Hunter Biden? People gun charge this or that, forget that. It's the fact that the Biden family has sold off our foreign policy to make their family rich. I mean, that's the real elephant in the room that nobody's persecuting or prosecuting or talking about. And that's not a partisan point. I think Hunter Biden and possibly Joe, if he was directly involved and if that's what a court of law comes to, these people should be spending time in prison if that's really what happened. And the facts certainly seem to suggest it. I believe in the rule of law and the court justice system playing itself out. But if that's what the facts bear out, then yes, they deserve to be fully held accountable to the fullest extent required. And so that's just the way I look at this. I believe in the rule of law. The other side doesn't. We will never be like them. And I apply principles. But one of the things I've realized is, like, I do these podcasts with people like you. You have the old media that's based on sound bites and individual quotes and sentences. And it's in a clash where I do these long form podcasts, and every one of these, I'm sure this one will do the same thing, get me in trouble in some way. So I don't know what I said this time that's going to get me in trouble.
You said you wouldn't work with Trump. I can predict the one.
I mean, I'm looking to be the next president of the United States. That's why we're going through the sacrifice. We'll help the country in any way we can, but they're going to airlift something. And the old world media is going to, purposefully take it out of context, partly because they don't like an outsider like me, but partly because they also don't like new media. And so this is their revenge for, taking advantage of it in the way they do. So
Vivek,
anyway.
I think your camera actually
I think we ran out of battery. That's why we're running out of time.
Well,
you can still hear me, right?
That's your cue. That's the cue to end this. Vivek, thank you very much. I would like to see your face while we're saying this, but thank you very much.
Thanks.
Let's do it again whenever you have time, but thank you for coming on.
Appreciate it, brother.
All right. Have a good one.
Bye.
Well, that's the this interview is over. All right, that was great. What we're going to do now, before I even give any commentary on this, we're going over to Rumble. We're going to go fraternize with the big tech on Rumble. All right, link to Rumble. I'm satisfied. I'm not commenting yet. Thanks, Vivek. I'm going to comment on some of the critique that I saw, which I flagged, and some of the praise that I saw that I flagged. But that was fantastic. Okay, so there are 728 people on YouTube. I'm going to wait for that. There you go, 726. The link to Rumble. And what we're going to do here, I got lots of stuff to talk about before I have to end this and then make my way over to Locals to interview Dinesh D'Souza. I'm not even saying what I think of. You all know what I think of Vivek. For those who saying he's Obama 2.0, okay, that's a nice trope. It's rubbish. Okay, I'm going to wait for that number to go from 726 to something lower as everyone migrates over to Rumble. Or go over to, there you go, 639. Or go over to vivabarneslaw.locals.com. How silly am I? Go to vivabarneslaw.locals.com, become a member. That doesn't require any money, but if you want to be a supporter, you can support for $7 a month, $70 a year. Everyone is above average at vivabarneslaw.locals.com. Ending on YouTube, 3, 2, 1. And I'll tell you what I really think of Vivek on Rumble. I like Vivek, period. Okay, these rubbish internet, the jab, he's Obama too. You can conclude that you think he's Obama 2.0, but you need to substantiate that ad hominem with evidence. Otherwise, it's just an insult and it's worthless. He's not an Obama 2.0 until such time as he becomes president and extrajudicially assassinates American citizens with no due process and no court order. Then, if Vivek, and it's a two-part here, because had Obama never become president to be proven a hypocrite divider in chief, well, you could never fault him for what he said on the campaign trail because you would have never had the concrete evidence that he was lying through his teeth on the campaign trail. The difference between even what you might perceive to be Vivek's smooth talking and Obama's lies on the campaign trail is Obama was saying things that were popular politically. As far as I remember, man, I have to go back and tap my memory. Vivek is not saying things that are popular politically. The evidence to that is that he was the only one of the 7 candidates on stage that was saying these things. You got Nikki Haley, Mike Pence, war pigs, war whores, whatever you want to call them, can't support the continuing of the proxy war in the Ukraine fast enough. Who was the other guy from Nebraska? I forget his name. He was slower to that. I don't think he's as much on board with that. But what Vivek is saying is not politically popular with the political elite of the GOP. So maybe it's popular with the populist mindset. That's not a bad thing. And so he will never become an Obama 2.0 until, and if he wins, becomes president, and then does a volte-face, as we say in French, on all of the things that he promoted while running for president. Will it happen? Who the hell knows? Can he be compromised, blackmailed, extorted? Who the hell knows? But don't tell me that I wasn't totally familiar with his position on the Palestine-Israel conflict. That's basically my position, what I've been promoting for a little while or proposing for a while. In the face of the biggest intelligence failure arguably in Israeli history, but at least in modern Israeli history, you can't go from, we don't know what went wrong in our intelligence failure that couldn't prevent this or mitigate it, to now we're going to rely on that intelligence to go bomb the hell out of a very small city. I mean, you can't say our intelligence is so good, we got smart bombs that will only kill the bad guys, yet our intelligence somehow failed to prevent, mitigate, inform us of this impending attack that was 2 years in the making. So, he's got the right answers, and they're not all politically popular. So you can't just call him an Obama 2.0 and think that sticks, unless you've gotten too used to the Twitter-verse rhetoric stupidity. And we've got here, I'm reading Bam Low says, soon enough, you'll stop supporting Vivek. First of all, I'm not supporting Vivek. Right now, I think that the only person that anybody can support, even if you don't like him, is Trump, because you're not supporting a person right now. You're opposing the degradation of the very system that made America what it is. So I'm not supporting Vivek. I just think politically he is on the right points. Much to his political lack of to his political not dismay, misfortune as far as Super PAC donations go. He's not wrong about that. Now, let me see if I missed any Rumble rants. I didn't. So that's it. That was fantastic. People, you can't fake. I guess you could. You could fake it for 40 minutes, but it's much more difficult to fake sincerity, to fake knowledge, to fake awareness for 30, 40 minutes, 60 minutes, 120 minutes. You can get on a Fox hit and you have your catchphrases, and 3 minutes in, you're out and nobody discovers you're an idiot and you don't actually know what you're saying. Can't do that in long format. And the amenability to be open, I guess the amenability to the long format podcast is a testament to transparency, willingness to be asked anything, and the willingness to possibly look foolish if you don't have a good answer on the spot. Oh, now hold on one second. I did not flag these. I said, can you ask Vivek why? Oh, I didn't. I'm sorry, I didn't get to that. But also, there was not enough time. Look, I had my questions and I did my best. Vivek has said exact Obama lines. I want to address this. Howard Artid. The internet's an amazing thing. It not falsifies discourse, but it reduces discourse to gotchas. I watched that video. You think the analogy of letting someone who crashed your car, would you give them back? You think that that's unique to Obama? What were the other just generic catchphrases that Obama was using? Oh my good God, man! You think Obama was the first person to use those analogies, those comparisons, those cliched, figures of speech? Give me a flipping break. Oh yeah, Obama's the first one who ever said, if you crashed my car, I'm not giving you the keys again. Dude, my father said that to me growing up. Obama copied my father. So give me a break. This is not on par with Biden's alleged, what's the word when you copy someone's work? Plagiarism. I mean, details of fact-specific stories is far different than general cliched, if you will, even analogies about if someone crashes my car, I'm not, and they didn't even say it the same way. It's just the same analogy. Whoop-de-frickin-do. Get better critique than that. What's this one? Vivek has said he'd pardon the Bidens if convicted to promote harmony. Can you pardon treason? Well, I believe he answered that question. And it was, the other thing is pardoning Hunter, if it allows for some sort of national unity, national healing, not the craziest idea, but pardoning the Biden crime syndicate, the family, Joe Biden himself, the alleged crime family, for having sold out America, for having done exactly what they impeached Trump for. Impeach him. Impeach him. I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily go so far as to impeach him, remove him from office. That would be the retribution, the political retribution. But anyhow, I believe he answered that question well enough. Keep going, Vivek. And I noticed the $17.76. What do they call that? Price, amount, quantum. And we got Finboy Slick with our first Crumble rant. Let me get over here and just read this one. Confirmed. Okay, it's confirmed. Viva's dad is the origin of the entire conspiracy. Now, I saw the video. That's not a compelling video to argue that Vivek is plagiarizing Obama. My goodness. I mean, they talk a lot and they say a lot of things. I just saw another rant. Paul Rose, 76. The same people who don't trust Vivek have total trust in RFK Jr., who changed most of the positions he's held for 30 years to attract Trump voters. Yes, the other thing is it's a catch-22. Don't change your positions. You're stubborn, intransigent, and can't be reasoned with. Change your positions, and you're weak because you changed your positions. At some point in there, it's going to be the golden rule. If you change your positions too often, it means you've espoused wrong positions in the past too often, or you are a fickle political sailboat just going with the wind. Never change your positions. It means you're an intransigent, stubborn, arrogant, whatever. What's the point in having a brain if you don't use it? So there's the middle ground, change your position on things where you acknowledge that you were wrong, where the situation has evolved, and there's nothing wrong with that. So what I like about RFK is that he seems amenable to listening. He could be a total phony, but he does the long format. He doesn't shy away from questions. I don't know that he demands to vet questions. He doesn't. He sits down and he listens and he engages. Forget Joe Biden sitting down for a long format interview. Maybe Gavin Newsom would. I don't know. Would Gavin Newsom sit down for a long format interview with an adversarial, not a sabotage attack dog interlocutor? Would Gavin Newsom sit down with me or someone like? He might sit down with Joe Rogan because Joe Rogan, attack or not, would give him the biggest platform regardless. I don't know. Kamala Harris, hells to the bells, no. Gretchen Whitmer sitting down with an adversarial press? Hells to the bells, no. Hey, no, that was great. Okay, I'm happy. Satisfied. I was nervous. I didn't flatulate, so that's always the sign of a good interview. How is everybody else doing? Well, we're going to get into some stuff. I was going to say, speaking of Joe Biden, let me just pull up the meme that I put up earlier today. It's propaganda versus reality. Maybe it's not as genius as I think it is, but I'm pretty sure it's pretty damn good. There's another video, which I'll play for you in a second, of Joe Biden looking like a lost, and I'm not saying this to be mean or to mock. I'm saying it because my grandmother had dementia. She lived to 103. I know what it looks like. I know what it looks like in the eyes. I know what it looks like when a 90-year-old doesn't have dementia. I had my grandmother-in-law, Chubby Cheek Edna, sweetest, chubbiest cheeks you'd ever seen, was sharp to the day she died until she got abused by flipping COVID and the solitude that ultimately led to her premature death. But she was sharp to the end. Did not look like Joe Biden. Propaganda versus reality, people. Do you remember this? Remember this? Let me just get this. Oh, no, it doesn't. Do you remember this picture? Oh, look at that. His teeth are, he's not even grind. He's breathing fire through the mouth. It's dark Brandon. Breathes fire as he stares Putin down. Give me. Oh, and look, by the way, look. Putin is scared. Oh, wait, I'm not zooming in on the right one here. Hold on. I zoomed in on my computer. Ah, damn it. What did I do here? Yeah, look at Putin's face. Can I zoom in here? What the heck, man? Come on. I can't zoom in. Look, Putin's like a little goof in his eyes. Versus reality. I don't know. And by the way, this is a screen grab from the video. I don't know what's going on with the chin, and I'm not making fun of it from a perspective of like, look at what someone's face looks like. Haha, I'm not a freaking 8-year-old. I'm not an 8-year-old with an improperly developed conscience. This is the dawdling president of the United States in reality versus how time. Admittedly, that was 3 years ago, Viva. That's disinformation. You're comparing a picture of how he was 3 years ago to a picture of how he is today. Let's get that video, shall we? Can I find it? I don't know if I'm going to find it. Oh boy. All right. Well, hold on. I see. Do I see something that's critique as a rumble rant? Hold on. Where is it? Okay, I see this comment here. Am I such a pushover? Are you such a pushover that you want everyone to like you? Didn't think I could see a bigger fluff piece than that Chris Sky interview yesterday. You think, beefers, if I wanted everyone to like me, I would have Chris Sky come on and express the opinions that he expressed yesterday? Is that what you think? That's how you make friends, especially within the Jewish community. Oh, beefers. No, I don't want people to like me. I want people, if they don't like me, to dislike me for the right reasons. And it quite clearly sounds like you don't like me because I allowed Chris Sky to speak freely, even though I disagreed with many of his interpretations of his perception of fact. If anyone hadn't seen that, it was a car interview vlog, and I think I liked it. Do I need to contradict each and every statement that Chris Sky makes that I disagree with? Only if I'm trying to prove that I'm right and not trying to listen to what he has to say. Do I need to do it in real time? No, because the internet will do it in real time afterwards. Do I need to contradict everything that Chris Sky said in an interview where many of the points that Robert Barnes raised during our Sunday streams in direct opposition to that? Like, life is not a Twitter fight where everybody has to get the upper hand, the last word. Sometimes you can just actually listen to what someone has to say, even if you don't necessarily like what you're listening to. When I had Scott Horton on, I'm not there to prove myself right. I'm there to listen to him, to understand his perspective. And I got to tell you, in as much as I disagreed with a lot of what Chris said yesterday, I can understand how some people feel it and believe it. What does that make me? So no, if I were a pushover that wanted everyone to like me, I got to tell you something. I would have shut my mouth a long time ago. But people will either like me for what I say and believe, or they'll dislike me for what I say and believe. And if they dislike me for accurate reasons that are true and correct, dude, I got no problem with that. I will judge myself by the enemies that I have made in life. Because you're going to make enemies one way or the other. All right, now, speaking of other news of the day that we're going to get into. Douglas Mackey, people. It's absolutely outrageous. We talked about this at the time. I forget who raised this because I wasn't fully aware of how it was going. They were investigating. It starts off with investigating, but they won't charge because it's so preposterous. Investigating a meme. Then it gets into, oh shit, they charged him for a frickin' meme. But he'll get acquitted because the world hasn't gotten so crazy. Well, you never know. It's in the corrupt district of whatever. I think it was in New York. You never know. Hillary country. They just convicted him. Is this it? By the way, and look, you got to love the framing. Far right Twitter troll. First of all, a Twitter troll gets 7 months in prison for election interference scheme. Holy shit. Can we love that framing? Far right Twitter troll gets 7 months in prison for election interference scheme. The election interference scheme? Avoid the lines. Text Hillary to 70770. And it was racist also because apparently the image that he used in the meme was a black woman. And so it had to be targeting blacks. I mean, that's just the way things work. The only way to avoid accusations of racism, apparently, don't use a black person in your meme. And then by being forced to exclude them for fear of the eventual accusation of racism, you get compelled into actual racism, which is exclusion of people based on race, skin color, whatever. It's never ending. First of all, he's a good-looking dude. I don't know how old this picture is. It kind of looks like it's on photographic paper from 1996. Douglas Mackey, who the feds say went by the Twitter name Ricky Van, was allegedly a prominent anonymous anti-Semite. Oh my goodness, lock that bastard away. Because they said he's an anti-Semite, and I'm Jewish, so I have to hate him. Holy crap. Oh, he was a prominent anti-Semite, racist, and Trump booster online before the 2016 election. Oh my goodness. Talk about persuasion. By the way, you got any of that evidence to substantiate those absolutely devastating accusations? Do you have any, evidence that he's a racist anti-Semite? The Trump supporter. I love how those are lumped together. If you're a Trump supporter, you're on par with racists and anti-Semites. A far-right Twitter troll who posted fake ads. Let's see if we're going to get a picture of the ad in a second. I clicked on that. Telling Hillary Clinton supporters they could vote in the 2016 election by text was sentenced to 7 months in prison. Douglas Mackey convicted of election interference in March after a trial that drew the attention of anti-extremist groups and right-wing politicians and pundits. Maybe they include me in there. Despite his arguments in court motions that his activities were protected First Amendment, also that they were troll memes, as evidenced by the fact that you called him and acknowledged he was a troll. Oh yeah, forget the First Amendment. It was a flipping joke. It was obviously a joke, and anyone who's too stupid to know that it was a joke, well, they'll get election interference by going to the wrong address. I had a better way to end that soundbite, but I screwed it up. Damn it. Despite his arguments, Brooklyn federal court judge Ann Donnelly countered that he was being sent to prison for conspiring to take away people's right to vote. You are not being sentenced for your political beliefs or for expressions of those beliefs. No, you're being sentenced for a joke. Each of us has the rights to hold opinions and express those opinions. Rather, she said, he used an insidious method of spreading lies to deceive people out of voting, describing it as, quote, nothing short of an assault on our democracy. Alrighty, now I got to know who that judge is. We're going to open up that window too. Oh my sweet, merciful goodness. Nothing short of an assault on our democracy. How did we survive the Ricky Vaughn meme attack? Okay, fine. It's one of those... Okay, we just go to the end here. We look forward to Doug's vindication on appeal. Oh, Mackey, whose wife just gave birth Tuesday, will have to surrender to authorities on January 18. Donnelly denied his request to be free on bond pending appeal. Can you believe this? I said I would try to swear less. It's front door believable. No bond pending appeal. He's in jail pending his appeal. That's what I understand from that. We look forward to Doug's vindication on appeal, his lawyer, Andrew Frisch, said after sentencing. Mackey declined comment. He's a Manhattan resident living in West Palm Beach, Florida, gained fame and influence on the internet as the Twitter user Ricky Van, posting under the avatar of Charlie Sheen's character from the movie Major League. Jurors saw his past Twitter posts, which included vile black and anti... I'm going to bring up all of these if these link to them. Vile, anti-black and anti-woman remarks describing women as children with the right to vote and writing, quote, black people will believe anything they read, okay, Twitter, and we let them vote, why? Let me see the context of those if we can see those. One fake ad he posted shows a black... Oh, there it is right there. I'm with her. Text Hillary to 59925. A black woman. I mean, you have to identify race. It's not just a woman. I mean, I don't even know why describing the race in there would be relevant. Avoid the line. Vote from home. Jurors also heard from Microchip, a notorious anti-Clinton troll who tweeted hundreds of times a day to cause as much chaos as possible. Assistant U.S. Attorney Eric Paulson called a Prince's sentence essential to deter others. Okay. Look at this. He did it in Spanish as well. It's going to send a message to those people who celebrated what this defendant did. And it's going to send a message to those who want to follow. Oh, it will. Okay, but hold on. Let's say it's going to send a message, right? It's going to send a message. No one's above the law. Well then, jail time for. Oh, no, I don't want that. Oh, son of a beasting. Hold on. Now I'm ruining the flow. I wanted the video of. Oh, now I got to go back and find it. It's my pinned meme, so it'll be easy to find. Pinned meme. It's my pinned tweet. It'll deter others, right? It was an assault on our democracy, a vile, outrageous, egregious, indefensible attack on our democracy. Let's jail time for Ms. I forget her name now.
Hey everybody, this is Christina Wong.
Christina Wong.
And I'm coming out. I'm a Trump supporter. And I just want to remind all my fellow Chinese Americans for Trump, people of color for Trump, to vote. Vote for Trump on Wednesday, November 9th. Really important.
This was in the video itself. There was a bit of a lag. Vote for Trump, November 9th. Election interference. Christina Wong, I suspect the feds will be at your door imminently. Right? That's how it works. No one's above the law. A vile assault on democracy.
This is Christina Wong. And I'm coming out. I'm a Trump supporter. And I just want to remind all my fellow Chinese Americans for Trump, people of color for Trump, to vote. Vote for Trump on Wednesday, November 9th. Really important.
Why does it keep freezing here? Come on, man. Whatever. Hold on, now I'm going to cough. That's it. Rules are rules. I didn't make them. And the tweet's still up, by the way. November 8th, 2016. Like on the day of. Hey, Trump supporters, skip poll lines at election 2016 and text in your vote. Text votes are legit. Or vote tomorrow on Super Wednesday. It's interesting. I'm sure, like those protesting in the rotunda, she'll be facing jail time. Right? 7 months in jail is the new standard. Christina Wong, I'd be nervous if I were you. All right, now I see I see a joke of a Rumble rant. Hold on one second. Let's bring this up here. Viva, never trust anyone with 2 V's in their first name. Well, my real first name is David, so it only has 1 V. Bada bing, bada boom, I get the joke. All right. Do we do anything else? I think we're going to have to, let me see something. I'll get the remaining stories that I had because I didn't have that many. I'm going to go over to locals after this. Why did I bring this up in the background? Not now. What was this in? Oh, yeah, here we go. Marjorie Taylor Greene. Hold on, let's just see this video in a second. But first, Colin Rugg. Who's Colin Rugg? I forget who he is. I have no idea. Co-owner and trending politics investor American, and he's got the Tesla thingy thing in his thing, so can't be all bad. Just in, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene has called for the individuals at the pro-Palestine protest at the Capitol to be, quote, prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. If they're not, it shows you that we don't have a legal system. It's lawlessness. Now, I got to tell you, as I mentioned, as I quote tweeted this tweet, I don't think these people should go to jail for 10 years, 1 year, maybe a fine. Call me a bit of a pushover, beefy there. You know, I want everyone to like me. I want the Democrats to like me, so I don't want beefers. I don't want to punish them too harshly. I don't believe that they should go to jail for that. So it's not a sincere wish that they go to jail for 10 years, 15 years. But my good God, you have to understand the hypocrisy in all of this. Douglas Mackey should not be going to jail for a frickin' day. Neither should Christina Wong. But what's good for the Republican goose is good for the Democrat gander. So jail time now. That's it. Those are the standards. It's a full police state, or at least it should be. It's probably more of a police state that these laws are only weaponized against one side of the political spectrum. Police state interview with Dinesh D'Souza this afternoon. She also asserted that the incident was a, quote, insurrection, end quote, and is demanding that the Capitol Police hand over all, quote, surveillance footage, photographic evidence, police reports, and arrest records relating to the protest. Quote, the Committee on House Administration must investigate this incident and review all the footage and evidence provided by Capitol Police, and the insurrectionists involved must be prosecuted. But it wasn't the rotunda at the Capitol building, it was the rotunda at the Cannon building. And let's just go see what we got here. More than 100 people were arrested. Well, let's see what happens to them. I don't want them to go to jail. But the problem is, I don't want them to. I don't believe they should go to jail. And they probably won't. They might even get a fat check from the government like the interrupt the January 2017 protesters got. The people in jail for January 6th should be out. Period. And I had started off saying even, the ones who committed violent crimes, get them out. The problem is they've gotten sentences that are insane, untenable, politicized, and now I have seen how when you frame a guilty person, you might have to bite the bullet and let that guilty person leave. O.J. Simpson might have been guilty, but if you frame a guilty person, you screwed up. And if you politicized an otherwise guilty person and punished them in ways that they know in no way, shape, or form could have possibly ever deserved, well, sorry, you got to let them go. Now let's just see what's going on. I can't hear what they're saying. 10 years. 10 years. Did the police shoot any of them? All right. Hypocrites. Lawless hypocrites. All right, well, that was the latest there. And then what else do we got? No, that's it. Oh, yeah, here, hold on a second. We'll bring up the judge. Judge Donnelly, this is in Douglas Mackey, nominated by Barack Obama on January 7, 2015. Well, there you have that. Let me see what else this brings up here. Oh, that was Judge Donnelly. No, okay. And then we got the indictment. Okay, out we go. Okay, people, look, I don't have, I'm getting close to the time. We're going to see if the Locals supporter is going to be able to make it on this time for the Locals chat. But otherwise, I'm going to go over to Locals now a little shorter than normal because I've got to go 4 o'clock this afternoon with Dinesh D'Souza. Do I wear a T-shirt or do I dress fancy like for the interview with Dinesh? What do we say? I'm going to look to the chat. Chat, do I wear a merch T-shirt or do I wear an untuck it buttoned up shirt? Viva doesn't read the chat. Selenium MC. Whoa, that aged badly in real time. Selenium MC. Viva doesn't read chat. Unsmiley face. You take that back. I'm gonna go. I'm joking. I'm not gonna delete the comment. Fancy merch. I was already gonna go in. I'll bring both. Maybe I'll wear the untuck it shirt over the merch. Viva shirt. Honor. You're okay, fine. I'm not getting involved in the fight there. Whatever feels more comfortable. Okay, now I'm going to scroll up to the chat and just see what we got here. The only thing that could improve this handsome man is a mullet. Hold on. Dude, I'm not cutting my hair anytime soon, but if ever I cut it, if I leave, I'll leave myself a Samson mullet. That'll be fantastic. But no mullet. When I was growing up, I kept on asking my barber, his name was Jean, for a mullet. Just leave it in the back, and he would cut it every single time. And now I understand why he was doing that. My parents probably would have killed him. All right. January 20th, 2017 was still a way worse event and no charges after over 200 people arrested. That's from C-Tuck. I do think some people had the charges stick. But no, the majority of them, and they firebombed a limo. They were protesting in the streets. It was, I don't know, worse or better. It was a violent protest, not an insurrection. The sooner you realize that the left are the heart of evil, the sooner you can do everything in your power to prevent them from getting power, says I'm Not Your Buddy guy. Oh, Viva, Jordan has suspended his speaker run. Oh, Jim Jordan suspends his speaker run. Well, Barnes is going to... Jim Jordan suspends his bid for U.S. Speaker, backs McHenry. Who's McHenry? Ooh, okay, well, I'm going to tune into Barnes' brief with Bourbon's... No, not Barnes' brief. Bourbon with Barnes tonight and see what Barnes has to say about that. All right, we'll get a little more in the chat here, just to prove a point. Hamas was created by Israel. LMAO says Fog 666. Yeah, there's created, or at the very least, what's the word? Promoted, used to fight the PLO to prevent. Dude, it's history doesn't repeat, but it tends to rhyme. Okay, what do we got up here? Okay, I'm not reading that. Oh, geez. Well, I'm not ignoring the chat. I just can't read some of the stuff out here. Okay. Oh, McHenry is the gavel slamming guy. The one with the bow tie? Dude, I like Tucker Carlson. Despite the bow tie, McHenry, speaker, he's the one with the bow tie who smashed the hammer down. Patrick McHenry is a part of a long bipartisan history of, in the Washington Post. I just want a picture. If he's wearing a bow tie, I can't get a picture. Okay, well, that's good to know who McHenry is. Giving the temp speaker more power would be a huge mistake, says Selenium MC. And then we got, okay. My family is from Palestine, says Fog666. Yeah. Today, the world, the world is just shit at some point. The world is going to shit. I appreciate every side of the argument in that, but I think Vivek's answer is the right answer in terms of this. Going in and leveling Gaza is not going to accomplish anything, and it punishes the wrong people. Anyhow, okay, that's it. Now I'm going to be accused of all sorts of things. So, okay, what we're going to do now, I'm going to give everybody the link to vivabarneslaw.locals.com. Mosey on over there. Tune in at 4 o'clock. You'll get the notifications. This afternoon is only going to be on Rumble and Locals, not going to do it on YouTube. So that's what I'm going to do. Come on over to vivabarneslaw.locals.com now, and I will see if our local supporter is going to come in for the interview. I'll get some of the tips there, and then I'm going to have to jump out of here and hit the road by 1 o'clock. So everybody, thank you all for being here. As always, I hope you enjoyed that interview. I hope you enjoyed yesterday's vlog of the car. Yesterday's episode of The Unusual Suspects on YouTube, Rumble, Valuetainment thing. I did a podcast there. It was fun. I might do it again. All right, go. Enjoy the day. I'll see you in 3.5 hours, people. Peace out. Come over to Locals. vivabarneslaw.locals.com. Peace. Okay, we're there now. Let me see here. Happy Florida Day. Is it Florida Day? That's from Crazy Mom of 6. Jeez, if you've got 6 kids, you are a crazy mom. Okay, I'm going to go to... Oh, there's McHenry with the pink... Okay, I should not be judgmental, but I'm thinking things. All right, McHenry. Oh, boy, the slamming the gavel is just a sign of juvenile... What's the word I'm looking for? Impatience. Not praiseworthy features. Matt Hammond sent a $5 tip. It says, can you ask Vivek about the U.S. joining... Oh, okay, sorry, but I didn't get to it. Joining the TPP under his administration and how it would not gut the rest of the manufacturing left in the U.S. Oh, the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Well, I think he sort of indirectly answered that, Matt, in terms of pulling back from China, and I think he indirectly answered that, but not specifically on the point of the partnership. But I think you can. I'd have to see what was his position. Can you ask Vivek about the U.S. joining the TPP? I'll tweet it out and see if he can answer that. Let me tweet this out at him later, and we'll see if he answers that. Mega Man X sent a $10 tip. It says, can you ask Vivek why did he tone down against the Republicans on the stage? He went from correctly calling them bought and paid for to calling them his friends. I lost trust in him because of that. I don't know the answer to this question. I think, well, I mean, it was clear that he was attempting to be more of a unifier in the second debate. It didn't work out for him, well, it didn't work out not for him, but it didn't work out because, yeah, look, it might have been a rhetorical thing. First of all, when anybody calls you their friends, like we do it in law, or they did it in the practice of law. My friends over there on the other side. Like, no, dude, we're not friends. And when you call me your friend, I don't call my friends friends because they know that they're my friends. So it's a rhetorical thing. But that second debate was just an absolute gong show. Hopefully, I don't know what the format is for the next debate in Miami, but 4 people, please, and 1 flipping moderator. 3 moderators for 7 people. It's a bloody joke. So, but I know his answer would have been, I don't think I toned it down. I made my points in the first debate, and I was trying to make my different points in the second debate. Dapper Dave 2021 says, please ask Vivek about the rogue judges making unconstitutional rulings, especially against Trump. We got to that indirectly. I mean, talking about the pardoning is what can be done. We don't need to ask Vivek that question. I mean, we can ask Barnes. You can ask me. What needs to be done? Impeach Judge Chutkan. There's procedures in there for rogue judges. They have to be. They have to find a GOP with the cojones to actually do it. At this point, hold them to their standards. 7 months in jail for Douglas Mackey. 7 months in jail for Christine Wong. 10 years in jail for insurrection for the January 6ers. 10 years in jail for the Free Palestine protesters who got violent and got arrested. It's terrible. Hold them to their own standards. Impeach the rogue judges that are impeachable. And the ones that are elected, out the ones who get funding from nefarious peoples, nefarious sources, and fund the ones that you want to get in. You gotta, and it's not a question of playing lawlessness, period. No, there's no but to that. I'm not your buddy guy. I know what some people feel in the despair of the moment, like, I know that. No, you still remain law-abiding, but use the law as mercilessly as they do, as politically as they do. But I still say, but honestly, don't just go impeaching judges because you don't like them. Chutkan has proven herself to be impeach-worthy. Where the heck is anyone other than, who was it? J.D. Vance, talking about impeaching these corrupt judges. I don't know that you can impeach them at the state level, but flipping Leticia James, it's unbelievable. I forget what her update on the day was on the persecution of Trump. I'm going to have to go watch it, get my dose of reality TV. Let me just see something if we can get. Okay, let's just see if I can get. I'm messaging our local supporter. We'll see if I see a screen pop up in the background. All right, there was another tip in there that I'm going to get to when I get back to the proper window, which is here. Karantov, Sidney Powell just pled guilty to 6 counts in the Georgia election case. I'll have to see which 6 and what the impact would be on. Does she plead guilty and flip and testify against Trump? I don't know. I don't think she would do that. But then I also would never have thought that she pleaded guilty. Let me just double check this in real time so that I don't form a visceral response. So that I don't. Okay, so Sidney Powell pleads. Okay, well, there it is, confirmed. Pleads guilty in Georgia election. All right, I'm going to have to digest that and understand what the impact and import of that is going to be. Thank you, Karantov, for the tip. Oh, we got Jeanette Victoria sent a $2 tip. I love the fact that Viva interviewed leftists, morons. It exposes them. Photo to get attention. Oh, what the heck is that? That's a dog? I thought that was a baby, like a West Highland cow. Okay, that looks like the Afghan. Okay, now I can see it. I'll tell you, my eyes are so bad, I thought it was a cow. I'm in StreamYards right now. Booyah! Let's see this. Hold on. Oh. No, hold on one second. Invite. She's got to click on the link. We're having our locals interview right now. It says, no worries, okay. I'm in StreamYards right now. Am I supposed to do no. Okay, hold on one second. If you're watching, click on the link to get in, and I will see you backstage. And let's see. I don't see the window, so you need to click. This is our local supporter. In StreamYards, you got to go click Allow Mic Camera Access and click Enter Studio. And then I will see you. Let me just make sure I sent the right link. No, dude, it's not a question of exposing it. I expose anybody, good and bad ideas. I like it. I like to interview everybody. And it's not going to be like one of those Mehdi Hassan, what's the word I'm looking for? Not a sabotage. When you surprise someone. Oh, for goodness sake, what's the word? But if I was rewatching Mehdi Hassan's interview with Vivek, you couldn't hear anything for a good 5 to 7 minutes of that interview. That's, what's the word I'm looking for, chat? Not when you sabotage somebody, when you get them by surprise, not a gotcha interview Astro Doge plays, but that's the essence of it. Ambush, thank you. Mr. Caterpillar. It wasn't supposed to be an ambush interview. Even if I don't like the person, it's not going to be an ambush interview. It's going to be, we're playing chess. You know what my pieces on the table are doing. And if you don't have a good response to them, I will defeat you at this game of chess. Oh, I just pulled up this thing from the past. You never knew this was coming. Dude, Vivek knows what's coming up unless someone found some, compromising info that's not yet public. Oh, okay. So let's hear. So true. Just vibed out to it. Good stuff. Thank you. Gotcha interview. And no, I'm going with ambush is the word I was looking for. Now let me see if we see our. So hold on. Let me just see what it looks like. When I go into the StreamYards, I click the thing and it says entering the studio. If you're listening, local supporter, I don't know if I'm even allowed to mention your name yet. And then it says enter studio underneath, and you click on the blue thing that says enter studio, and then I shall see you in the backdrop. Let's see if we can do this. Oh, okay. Oh, and by the way, some other good interviews. Next week, Dr. Drew Pinsky. I'm going to see Mark Grobert because he's coming into town. I don't know if we're going to have time to do an interview. Or at least if we do it, it might be... That's my dog. It might be in my studio and not in the local studio. Okay, let's just go. I'll go to the chat here and see what's going on in the chat. We know your character, Viva, but Vivek has to be tired of answering some of those bogus attacks. Absolutely. It's still what I feel bad about when I interviewed Cernovich for the first time, and I didn't appreciate it in the first time. How many times people have to answer the same... It's new to me. It's the first time I've ever asked the question. How many times he has to answer the same flipping question over and over again, and the answer is never going to convince the people who don't want to be convinced, who are likely the ones who say, ask him that question. Oh, Douglas looks like Giovanna Ribisi, absolutely Phoebe's brother. There's no question. Well, he does in that picture, at least. That's from Ginger Ninja, $1. Dapper Dave Viva bringing all the boys to the StreamYards. Oh, there we go. I see it. Okay. Alma, can I bring you in? People, we have our... Now I'm going to tell you this. I'm bringing him in. And now I'm going to have to actually get clear on names here. This is our local supporter who was the selected, not the winner. This is the thing that we do at locals. If you're watching this on YouTube or Rumble later on, the interview with a supporter who is game to be on the interwebs forever. Local supporter. You understand that? I'm looking for the nod before I bring you in. Okay, he's in. All right, Matt, how's it going?
Not too bad.
Well, so first of all, hold on. What's your name? Because I was going by a different name in my from the email address.
So, really, I thought my email address was Leon One the Lion, but my name's Alma.
Okay.
My middle name's Leon, and so Lion, I think was like Latin or something, was Lion or something like that, and so I just made up the Leon One the Lion forever ago, so that's just what I go by.
Okay, no, cool. Yeah, your email was from Alma, but I was an idiot. I was the only Alma that I've ever known. I thought I wasn't sure if you were a man or a woman based on the Alma, because I think I don't know that I've ever known an Alma, but I was operating on a faulty premise. So Alma, Alma or Alma?
Alma.
Alma. Okay, dude. So who are you? Where are you from?
I'm from Wyoming. I actually met you back at the Viva Barnes Riverboat Ramble, but that's been a while. So
No, but I think I do. I think I do recognize the face.
Yeah.
The thing about this is like I'm sort of like that guy from the movie Memento, where like I think I recognize more people than I do sometimes. So I like almost fabricate recognition, but I do remember this. So you're from Wyoming. Is it the most beautiful place on earth?
I mean, I was walking around Chattanooga, Tennessee. I'm like, holy cow, this place is so green. And then you're like, I want to go visit Wyoming. And I'm thinking to myself, have you seen how green it is here? Like,
Dude, you know what's funny?
It's amazing.
No, but literally just yesterday, my wife, Marion, was asking me, she says, like, if we have no kids, like the kids move out and we could live anywhere we want, like current geopolitics, where would you go? And I just immediately said Wyoming. And she's like, you've never even been to Wyoming. And it's like, I think I'm thinking, what movie was A River Runs Through It? That was Montana or Wyoming?
I have never seen the movie.
It's fly fishing. It was beautiful.
Oh, okay, yeah. I don't do fishing too much, so.
River Runs Through It. States. Let me see here. Was it Montana? Okay, fine. Well, hold on. Let me go Google image. No, I know Wyoming is beautiful. So what do you do out there?
So I'd go back there like for a week once a year. I spend all my time out of town building construction buildings. We do hotels, we do apartment buildings. We're working on some student housing down the road a little bit, and so that's basically what I do, is spend all my time framing, and then I just post some stuff to YouTube and stuff. I started a locals community a little bit ago.
Cool. Now, hold on. When you say you build the stuff, are you like hands-on labor or are
Absolutely, framer.
Okay. And framer, I only know framer in the legal context. What does a framer in the carpentry context do?
So we do wood. So anything that does to do wood, we build it. So all the walls, unless they're steel, I mean, most of the walls are going to be wood. Sometimes below concrete, you have like steel framed studs, which we don't have anything to do with, but we do all the wood on the building.
Okay, very cool. And so if you're doing wood structures, my limited recollection of some construction law, is there wood structures tend to be smaller buildings, like 3-4 stories, and not high rises?
So legally, 5 stories is as high as we can go, and I think that's to do with how much weight wood can hold.
Okay.
So,
and are you doing this with a family company, or are you working for somebody else's company?
I'm working for somebody else's company.
All right. How long have you been doing this for?
10 years.
Now, you look very young, that you could have been working for 10 years. May I ask how old you are?
I'll be 32 next month.
Okay, all right. And born and raised in Wyoming?
I was born in Utah, and I think about 6 I moved to Wyoming, and that's pretty much where I've lived since then.
Very cool. Now I got to ask the question: Utah, how many siblings, if you don't mind me asking, and what type of childhood?
How many siblings? Like, do we want to go direct, or do we want to go half siblings too?
Parents. Well, let's go half siblings because I think those count, and then we can go biological or full biological.
So full biological, I have a sister and a brother, and I think the count was that Dad had like 26 kids in total.
29.
My brother's trying to tell me it's 29.
Dude, these answers are leading to more questions. May I ask them? How is he a religious man or multiple marriages?
He's a Mormon polygamist.
Okay, this is fascinating. See, okay, every story is fascinating. A Mormon polygamist. Is he still in your lives? Is he alive? Do you talk to him? Relationship?
He's still alive. I blocked his number.
Okay. Interesting. Alrighty. I'll stop there now. And so you left Utah. If it's polygamous, I guess there's no divorces, but
there's divorce. My mom divorced Dad when I was 6, and so I've had a separated.
She was the first.
I've separated parents since then.
Okay. And so you're with your brother. Is he works with you?
He does now. He wanted to sleep in, so he's just laying on the floor there sleeping. I
And
think
now
that woke him up.
That's fascinating. So 29, and do you have any relationship with any of the 29 or all of them?
I've talked to a couple of them every so often.
How does that work actually, like even just as a practical matter, a polygamous, multiple marriages or just multiple significant others?
It was multiple marriages. He had 5 wives.
Which is legal under Utah law.
I haven't looked it up. I think
I'm gonna. I feel very ignorant for not knowing this. This is not.
I feel like I heard somebody made sure it wasn't legal in Utah, but I can't remember.
Okay. And so you moved to Wyoming, raised in Wyoming. I looked up pictures. Wyoming is the heaven on earth that I thought it was. What city in Wyoming did you live in?
So I was in Byron, Wyoming, and then we moved like a mile outside of it, which put us in Lovell, Wyoming, which was like 5 miles away, but we were in Lovell, even though we were closer to Byron. So,
what?
and they're very small towns.
Well, I'm looking at pictures, and you know what's funny? Hold on, let me bring this up. I'm looking at pictures as I Google them, and for whatever the reason, it looks like the pictures of Byron are actually like film pictures and not digital pictures. It looks beautiful, but it does look rather flat. What's the elevation of Byron?
I do not remember off the top of my head.
And so what is childhood growing up like in Byron? I mean, how small a town are we talking? Like several hundred?
I think it was about 500 or 600 people, if I remember correctly.
And
yeah, like 600 people.
that's
Population, nothing.
I could hear. I'm trying to make out the answer, but
Nate's he's very not speak. I can barely hear him. He's so mumbly.
no, I said so. It's, several hundred. What's childhood like?
About 600 people.
I mean, you go to school, you ride around town on bikes. We actually, when we were in Byron, we were right next to the school, which had the park. Our playground. You go out there and play. But when we were out, moved out of Byron, you just go play out in trees, catch lizards, throw stink bugs into ant piles. All the fun stuff.
I discovered the ant piles in Florida. They're not fun out here. My foot was swollen for 2 weeks. And so now you're working construction, 32 years old. Wife and kids? No wife or kids?
No.
And working construction with your hands day in and day out. Now, so you go on location depending on where the projects are?
Yes.
And does it require traveling, or do you stay typically within states?
It requires traveling. So we've been in North Dakota. That's primarily where we started. We did some in Montana. I think we had a job in Idaho for a little bit, but I wasn't there. We did one job in Wyoming. We've done a couple jobs in Utah. We've been in Texas. We've been in Arizona, which is where we're at right now.
That's very cool. So you see, these are I won't say the most.
The Wyoming job in Yellowstone.
What was it? I was going to ask you. No, what is it? The Wyoming or Montana? Wait a minute. Hold on. Yellowstone is.
It is in Wyoming. It's in the upper northwest corner of Wyoming.
Okay, now I think I was just listening to Reggie Watts on Joe Rogan, and he lives in Wyoming.
Wyoming and go south.
I don't know who that is.
You don't know who Reggie Watts is? Oh, well, actually,
No.
I can't pretend to. He's a stand-up comic musician, but he made a song, and the song is called it's called an SHIT-FUCK stack. If no one's ever heard it, it's graphic and foul language, but there's actually sort of like an actual critique of pop culture in it. If anybody hasn't seen or heard that song, go check it out. But warning, there's nothing but swear words in it. The entire song is SHI. Okay, never mind. I had a joke where I was bleeping out the swear words, and there was nothing left of the song. So you're in Arizona, and people say that construction is the most fulfilling job on earth because you see what you build. It goes to a use. It goes to a practical use. Do you have the same feeling about that, or is that sort of the glamorized look at it?
I know some coworkers who feel that way. I personally don't feel that way. I think the reason I don't feel all that satisfied about it is because it's not like I show up to do somebody else's project. If it was my project, I'd certainly feel a lot more proud about it because it would be my project. So that's kind of how I feel about it.
Mm-hmm. And now let's see. I mean, so you're living in Wyoming. The world around us seems to be going to hell in a handbasket. Some people say that, the fear, the anxiety is much more a big city thing. Do you feel this anxiety of the world collapsing where you are? Or is it just a slower paced, peaceful life where these problems, although there, you don't feel them on a daily basis?
So I mean, my dad grew up always talking about the end of the world, and so I thought the world was going to be over by now. But I mean, the thing that makes me not worry so much about the end of the world is just listening to Barnes and him explaining why it's not the end of the world. And I kind of just learned to agree with him. It's like, just might as well go with it and do your best.
Now, someone in here sent. So you better understand Alma's work. Okay, there's a framing houses in Minnesota humor. Okay, there's a video. Alma, I'm going to put this in here if you haven't seen it. No, hold on, you will see it. I'll put it in the chat so everybody can see it already.
I don't think I can see the chat.
Oh no, in locals. Yeah, but I'll send it to you afterwards. It appears to be a humorous thing about construction, and by the look of it, it looked like that's not the right one. By the looks of it, it looked like it was the guy from Superbad who was in it, but no, it might just be an actor that looks like him. So that's good. So I listened to Barnes too, but we have crossed so many Rubicons that I thought would never be crossed, even in the years that I've been with Barnes. Like, I don't know where it bottoms out at. So that's my concern, but. So, and you're from an area, I presume. I mean, it's I guess stereotyping a little bit. Is it conservative country Trump supporters, or is there like blue cities within?
I think if I think it was Cheyenne. That's in the southeast corner of Wyoming is a little bit blue, but pretty much everywhere else is red.
Right now, I'm googling the population of Wyoming. I'm going to say under 1 million.
I think it's like 500,000 if I remember correctly.
Yep, 578,000 as of 2021. That's amazing. All right. And so now aspirations for the future. I've never asked this question to anybody. Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
I don't know. I don't even know where I'm going to be next year. So I'm kind of that type of a person.
And when did you discover, do you remember the Viva question? Do you remember how you discovered Viva, me or Barnes or both of us?
So I discovered Viva through the Legal Eagle loophole, where it's like Legal Eagle viewers watch this person, and so I start watching Viva Fry, and I'm like, this guy is so difficult to understand with how fast he talks. And he keeps talking about this Barnes guy on the stream he does. I'm like, I don't have time for that. And then I think I start watching your shorter clips. I'm like, I think I like this Barnes guy more than Viva.
I think you're not the only one.
Yeah, I like you, but Barnes makes so much more of a reasonable argument.
Barnes is like, he's not I was going to say sedated is not the right word. He's calculated. What blows my mind about Barnes's mind is not just the ability to retain information, it's to contextualize facts in the historical context in which they occurred, where I could read a book and not feel what it would be like to contextualize the facts to the overall geopolitical era of the time, and Barnes can do that and can translate that. So that's I'll flatter Barnes a little more, but I mean it's a talent, it's a skill, it's singularly unique, and
right.
Thank goodness. Yeah, Legal. Do you remember, the first time I discovered Legal? This was back before politics had tainted everything. I mean, we were fighting over the Captain Marvel legal interpretations. Then, then people got pissed off with him about that self-defense argument. Then things got political, and he waded into the impeachment, and that's where you really discovered how. The blinders dictate interpretations. And so, how long the job that you're on now? How long does that last?
I think we're planning on wrapping it up before December, so we can be in Utah on a new job.
Tabarouette. For anybody who doesn't know, tabarouette, the French swear word is tabarnak, and it's the bad swear word. So tabarouette is how you swear politely in French. So you're going from Arizona. Is Arizona? Do you find it to be one of the most beautiful geological states out there?
I mean, it doesn't have the greenness that Chattanooga, Tennessee had, but it has its own beauty, I guess you could say. So, I mean, I don't know. I really did love the greenness in Chattanooga, Tennessee. That was just, wow, amazing.
Have you ever been to Canada?
I have never been out of the United States.
Oh, do you have a passport?
I do not have a passport.
Well, then you might be better off staying out of Canada, but you want to see green luxury. I mean, you could go to the East Coast. Maine is green, but like, I'm trying to think of some places. You go to New Brunswick. Oh, if you can remember this, there's a stretch of highway it's in New Brunswick. It's like 150 kilometers of highway, and there's nothing, like absolutely nothing. You're driving over rock that has trees growing on it, and it's a stretch from, I know Plaster Rock is the other place out of it. Nothing but green, and you drive, and on that drive, I've done it a couple times. You see bears, moose, but nothing but rolling green hills, and it's if you like greenery, that's the most amazing thing. Like, I grew up with the greenery, so what I got mesmerized by was the open ocean, which I never saw much of growing up, and I love the blue of the ocean. But you're landlocked, so you got to get the green and the ocean.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought of afterwards. Is like, Viva's probably seen green all the time, so he wants to see something different.
I've never loved anything geographically more than the ocean, the smell of the ocean, and now I'm here, and you just see how you end up taking it not for granted, but the uniqueness of the odors, you get used to them and they no longer have that uniqueness. But when you leave it for a bit and you come back, then you remember it. Yeah, but then the crisp freshness of the fall air in Canada, in Quebec, is something also unique that you end up just taking for granted until you don't have it for a bit.
Right.
Amazing. All right. Well, now, not to cut it short, but I'm going to go do Dr. Dinesh D'Souza. But what do you have on for your day? You're early. You got to go do a whole day of work now.
I've got to go to the chiropractor because I threw my hip out, and then do stuff after that. So.
Well, you're going to see. I should probably hold on. I'm going to put this thing down here. Winston says hello.
Hello, Winston. How you doing?
I am doing very good. Oh, quiet down here. Okay, I'm going to put him down here. I've been complaining about my sciatica. It feels like it's just getting better naturally, but I got to do some of those stretches that.
Right.
Let me see if there's anything that I wanted to ask you that I should have forgotten. Do you have any question that I have not yet answered on the interwebs?
Do you think you could shout out my locals community?
Dude, shout it out now, and this is going to be on YouTube.
I think I put it in the private chat.
Hold on one second.
How do I get it to you?
Oh, no, I'll do that. So, yeah. mistspire.lo. Here, what we're going to do, and let's do this right now. Mm-hmm. Okay, so hold on. I'm going to that's not the right window. So it's called Mistspire.
Yep.
And it says, so art, books, writing. So I like to write stories in my free time. I'll be posting what I do here as well. What's Givy?
That might have been a speech to text error that I didn't.
Okay.
Didn't.
No, I thought maybe it was another website that, as well as, okay, look. Oh, give me a look before anywhere else. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Sorry, no, I thought maybe there was another. I wasn't trying to be glib. I thought there was another platform called Givy. Interested? Here you go. So now, did you draw this?
No, I paid a guy, I think that's about $65 when it gets paid for and tipped and everything.
That's amazing. And so what is what do you do?
So I just write stories. I'm working on an animation there. And so I'm doing that. So those are audiobook stories there. I think I just posted from, actually they haven't been done yet. They're in the works.
Okay, so now, for those who are listening, it's Mistspire, Mistspire, and that's S like Sierra, because I have a lisp, mistspire.locals.com, and it's stories, graphics. Let's see, share more.
Loading.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so now I'll have to do, okay, so here we go.
Oh,
Well, this is. Am I on incognito? I'm not on incognito, but this is it. Support Misspire. And how long have you been doing this for?
I think about a year and a half or so. So something like that.
All right, very nice. Now, hold it. Are these? I lost the page now. Are the graphics that we're looking at? Once I get them back. Oh, hold on 1 second. I just started playing a video now in the background. Okay, Timcast started playing in the background. The graphics that we're looking at here. Are these yours or also these are?
I commissioned them.
Okay, very cool.
So that one with the demon, he's just like kidnapping people and feeding them to his pets. The one with the woman there is the story that's coming out pretty soon. So basically, she's a ghost who lost her husband at sea and is basically becoming more and more depressed the longer she's away from him.
Well, I have. If he's lost at sea, not necessarily no longer among the living, so potentially can come back.
You'll have to read the story to find out.
Dude, that's fantastic. So you've been doing this for a year and a half. Do you have like I would say YouTube is the default, but do you have a Rumble channel? Do you do anything like video?
I do have a Rumble channel. I haven't linked it to locals. I'm a little bit slow on the technology front. We had like 2 computers, and so when you have that many people, not everybody gets a chance with them.
No, for sure. But also, it's like doing these things in your spare time when you're working a full-time job. It's also not the easiest thing to do. And
it's definitely a struggle sometimes to keep on top of everything.
Amazing. All right, I missed Alma. Stay here. I'll end the entire stream so we can say our proper goodbyes, and then I got to jump in a vehicle. So it's Mistspire, and on Rumble you'll link it to and get it. But anybody who's watching this later on, that's your locals. It's locals is an amazing platform. It allows people to, turn pastimes, turn passions into either passive or something more than that. So it's something they can, monetize in a non-cynical way, but do what they like. It's fantastic.
Right.
Alma, I'm going to end the stream. We'll say our proper goodbyes. Everyone else out there, I'll see you in 3 hours and 7 minutes, people. I'm going to end the stream on StreamYard. 4 o'clock today, and tomorrow, stay tuned. There's going to be another good interview. So, Alma, stick around. I'll say our proper goodbyes afterwards. Everyone else out there, enjoy the rest of the day. And